Hello and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar, and with me as always is my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. Let's take a quick look at the markets at this point. Pavitra, yes, it started on quite a weak note today when we talk about all the indices, in fact, and at the moment we are seeing a slight bit of recovery. In fact, recovered fair bit, and Nifty 50 trying its level best really to defend that 17,500 levels throughout the trading session. At the moment, 0.25% up on sensex. Nifty also gaining just a minor 38 points at the moment. Bank Nifty, slight outperformance to the key indices, 0.34% up in trade, and mid caps also outperforming by a slight bit. So green on the screen, advanced decline ratio because of the broader market participation in favor of the advances at the moment. In terms of some of the stock-specific actions, Adani Group Company, Adani Ports doing extremely well in trade, Larsen & Toubro, ITC, and amongst the ones which have more weightage on the indices, the types of HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank are the ones which are doing well in trade and keeping it in the green. Pavitra.
Yeah, so we finally moved into the green, right? For most of the day, we were seeing some kind of minor losses come through. But if you take a look at the rest of the Asian markets, they're trading pretty much mostly lower. So if you have Hang Seng, Taiwan, these are up on your screens. We're seeing significant cuts come through there. Our market's holding up quite well, and it has really been about the autos this week. Once again, today, M&M is doing quite well. A lot of the other auto stocks are also in the green, but they're definitely off the intraday high. So whether it's Maruti, Eicher, keep these on your radar. Another pack where you're seeing good gains come through is real estate, and some of the hotel stocks are really buzzing right now. So if you take a look at something like a Royal Orchid, you have EIH, all of these holding up quite well right now. And on the downside, of course, you have Reliance, you have ONGC, which is seeing some cuts, and Tech also has moved off the day's high and is seeing some cuts right now. But that's what's happening as far as the market action goes. Let's bring you our top story, which is clearly the auto sector. Sales numbers for the month of August were quite a mixed bag this time around. So Sonia is here with a roundup of all of the interesting trends that really played out this month. Sonia, it's over to you.
Well, you know, the auto sales for August are out, as you said, and there are some really interesting trends that I've observed. Now, the first big trend I noticed is that commercial vehicle sector growth rate has slowed down sharply compared to what we've seen in the previous months. Now, this could be due to the base effect wearing off. It could also be because of the monsoons, but growth has slowed down to low single digits. Take a look at all the three commercial vehicle players. Tata Motors has barely seen a 6% year-on-year growth this time, in CV sales, that is, while Eicher Motors has not even made it to 5% growth, and Leyland saw a 51% year-on-year growth, but that is on the back of a lower base. Now, the next big trend that I noticed is that there is a sharp fall in two-wheeler exports in August. Bajaj Auto saw a 28% year-on-year fall in exports because of Nigeria restricting two-wheeler movement. Remember, Nigeria retails were down 25 to 30% for Bajaj Auto, and Bajaj Auto gets 20% of their export volumes from Nigeria. But Bajaj is not alone. It was down 28%, while Hero MotoCorp saw a 48% fall and TVS Motors saw a 15% year-on-year fall. The third and final trend that I noticed is cracker demand for the passenger vehicle sector. Could be because of new launches, the supply side situation easing, and a robust order backlog which aided the passenger vehicle space. So let's take a look at the numbers. Look at this. Maruti's domestic passenger vehicle sales were up 30% year-on-year. The pick of the pack really was M&M on the back of a solid 87% year-on-year growth in sales, while Tata Motors was not too far behind. Passenger vehicle sales rose 68% year-on-year, and it's seen a big jump in electric vehicle sales. They were pretty electrifying at 276% year-on-year growth, coming in at 3,845 units, purely because of the sale of the Tata Nexon. So those were the big trends that we identified in the month of August.
All right. Thank you so much, Sonia, for getting us all the details of the picture that we are getting on the auto sales number for the last month. Remember, auto sales are also one of the big yardsticks in the macroeconomic data on which way the economy is moving, and especially the demand. Let's also hear out what the managements of Eicher Motors and Bajaj Auto had to say on the sales in the month gone by.
The month of August, there is also impact of monsoons. So I think it's that. Otherwise, CV industry per se is doing very well, and we are expecting good growth overall for the year. If you look at first 5 months, we have sold 28,500, and which is 91% growth over previous year's first 5 months. And if you look at the industry has grown by 88%. So we are doing better than the industry. If you look at the overall industry sales, I think this year, in balance 7 months, if we project based on the last year's 7 months, and if you add some nominal growth in that, I think we will be quite close to the earlier peaks of 18-19. This year, first 5 months, we are at 25%. So we are consistently gaining in the bus segment.
Decline in numbers which you're seeing in export sales is not really the outcome of Egypt. If you may recall, we had said that there are developments in Nigeria and a few other parts of Africa, but particularly Nigeria, where retails have slid downwards for two reasons. One is, of course, there is inflation and lower availability of dollars, but there is also an uncertainty due to certain pronouncements by the government of India, government of Nigeria, restricting the movement of motorcycles. The Nigerian retails have shrunk by 25 to 30% for us. And what happens in that is that we like to take a prudent view because it's a long supply chain. And if these retails continue at this level, we don't want overexposure of our distribution partners in terms of stocks. So this month has almost been a nil month of exports to Nigeria, so that we take the hit and get the process of getting the stocks in balance. So it's really that one issue. And of course, the Egypt issue, which is a much smaller one when it comes from when you look at it from a number point of view.
All right, that is the word coming in from the Eicher Motors as well as Bajaj Auto Management on how sales will pan out going forward. But with that, let's move on and bring you the latest on the Nifty rejig. And this is going to come into effect on the 30th of September. So Mangalam is here with all of the changes. Mangalam, one in, one out.
One in, one out. So let's tell you what is in, what is out. Adani Enterprises goes in, whereas making way for it would be Shree Cement. The reason why, these stocks are buzzing in today's trading session. Adani Enterprises up almost 3-odd%, whereas Shree Cement is among the top Nifty losers. These changes will come into effect from September 30th. So that means that with effect from September 29th close, there would be a lot of passive funds which would, be rejigging their own index compositions to meet the Nifty itself. These changes were in line with street expectations because barring today's move, which came after the announcement, prior to this as well, this year Adani Enterprises was up 90%, whereas Shree Cement was down 21%. At today's move, Adani Enterprises up almost 95% this year, with Shree Cement having fallen 25% this year itself. What could the impact on September 29th or from now to September 29th be? Well, Edelweiss has put out some numbers. All the passive funds who are tracking the Nifty would see an inflow or would need to buy Adani Enterprises worth nearly $285 million. And in return, they will sell almost $100 million worth Shree Cement. So that perhaps is the reason why these stocks are moving in the directions that they are right now, from now up all the way to September 30th. But importantly, also, crucial to know that Adani Enterprises is the second Adani stock on the Nifty after Adani Ports. And once Shree Cement exits the Nifty, the lone pure play cement stock on the Nifty would then be only Ultratech. Of course, Grasim is a Nifty company as well, but it is a cement stock via its holding in Ultratech. So that is something that we will monitor as the days go along.
All right. Thanks so much, Mangalam, for all those important details. And in fact, one important bit to note about Nifty rebalance is that how some of the Indian conglomerates and business houses are becoming more and more prominent. Of course, Reliance Industries with its highest weightage is one of the top ones, but Tata has a few of the companies. Birla Group has a few. Adani has a second one adding to it. And HDFC Group can also be called one group now that the merger is in play. And there will be 3 stocks. And with the high weightage of both HDFC Limited as well as HDFC Bank. So this is also something to be watched out for. Now, as we slip into a short breather on the show, well, listen into Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC's Chief Investment Officer Mahesh Patil's view on the market and the sectors he is betting on.
We haven't seen much downgrade to earnings after the first quarter numbers. Earnings growth still remains around in the mid-teens for this fiscal year. And while there have been a few sectors like IT and some of these sectors where we have seen some amount of downgrades, but overall numbers have been fairly good. And the commentary has been, you've seen some improvement in terms of consumption, okay, which was seen a slowdown last fiscal year. So that is seeing signs of improvement over there. By and large, I think there was some kind of pent-up demand, okay, there were supply side issues which were hindering the auto sector. So those are getting addressed. The chip shortage issue is now getting resolved. So I think production levels are now coming back to normal levels. Demand is fairly decent. And I think overall, looking at the domestic economy, I think rural economy also is able to really do well in the second half, and that's what indications are. I think the demand for the rural side, especially for two-wheelers, should also pick up going forward. And the margin pressures, I think this will be the last quarter of that, and the correction in the material prices should help over there. So I think overall, I think passenger vehicles still looks, demand looks good. One has to wait for the festive season. A lot of folks are being bent on the festive season to see.
General insurance companies, what they've sought from the regulator is a composite expense of management ratio.
The recommendation was there that why don't we have a single cap on the limit of expenses on management. So we have examined that report, and accordingly a draft exposure has been put out.
Relaxing or removing the condition that private equity players can only invest through a special purpose vehicle or SPV.
Very soon we will finalize whatever we have to do as the private equity funds are concerned, and the SPV, whether that is required or it's not required, can it be done away with. All of those are under deliberations.
IRDAI is considering giving a composite business license to existing as well as new insurance companies.
Composite license is not really an obstacle as far as insurance penetration is concerned. We need to amend the statute. So we are in discussion with the government. So at the appropriate time, the government will take a decision on this.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Lunch. Now, an important story. The government has amended the electric vehicle testing standards to make room for additional safety requirements and has also issued a draft notification for battery testing norms. Parikshit is joining us to fill us in with all of the details on this one. Parikshit?
Well, yes, this had been in the works for some time. There was a high-level committee which was set up to look into the recent fires and submit a report on the causes of the fire and also changes that are needed in the testing criteria. Now, basis those recommendations, the government has made conformity of production norms mandatory for electric vehicle makers, which means that they will have to regularly submit their products, their components, for testing and certification by the ARAI. This is in addition to the initial certification that a company receives before rolling out a product in the market. At the same time, additional safety requirements have been put into place. AI's 156 norms were set to come into effect, and now there will be amended safety requirements for the battery management system, for thermal runaway in case of short circuit, for testing of the cell, for testing of the battery pack design. So very comprehensive regulations have been put into place. Stakeholder consultations will now take place. Comments are invited for the next 30 days, and the government is proposing to bring this into effect from the 1st of October 2022. So this is this year, and there is a bit of uncertainty within the industry as to how to meet this short timeline, and there will be certain clarifications sought from the government. But there have been a series of measures over the last few weeks by the government to tweak FAME norms, tweak PLI norms, to make sure that products are localized well, they conform to the FAME criteria, they are made in India, and they conform to the highest safety standards as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Parikshit, for getting us all those details on the framework for safety standards being developed and more measures being taken for the electric vehicle segment. Moving on to an exclusive then, and sources tell CNBC-TV18 that a number of bids have been received for the minority stake in NTPC's green energy arm. And Abhimanyu, our colleague, is here to get us all those details. And of course, green energy interest is quite high from the investor community, Abhimanyu.
where ArcelorMittal, Brookfield, Canadian Pension Fund, NIF are among the bidders as far as the 13 bids are concerned for NTPC's green energy stake sale. It remains to be seen how these bids will be considered and what will be the amount of stake which will be divested as NTPC Green Energy remains open to raising up to rupees 2,000 crores as equity and remains open to stake sale between 5% to 26%. Also, NTPC is looking forward for listing of various of its subsidiaries, be it NIPCO or NVVN. Also, NTPC is looking at the possibility of selling off its non-core assets, particularly in the fertilizer domain. NTPC, what sources have indicated that NTPC is not going to launch any greenfield coal thermal power plant. However, it's also not going to close down any thermal power plant more than 200 megawatt capacity. It remains to be seen what is going to be the status of the bids for NTPC Green Energy, since the subsidiary of NTPC is looking forward to raise money as part of this exercise.
All right, Abhimanyu, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details on that. But moving on now, demand for work under the government's MNREGA scheme shows a significant decline as the job market stabilizes, although it is still higher than what we had pre-pandemic, the kind of levels that we saw pre-pandemic. My colleague Sapna Das is here with more on that. Sapna?
Absolutely right. If you look at the data that has been shared by the Finance Ministry, and also if you look at the data, given out by the Rural Development Ministry in terms of Manrega, both the data sets point towards a substantial decline in work demanded under Manrega. The trend probably started in the last financial year after the peak of the COVID lockdown seen in FY21. So if you look at the FY22 numbers, they were around 40 odd crore individuals availed work under Manrega in FY22 against a much larger number of around 44 crore individuals asking for work under Manrega in FY21. So that's one set of data year-on-year, annual comparison. Also, if you look at it month-on-month comparison, but again year-on-year according to Finance Ministry, if you look at the July numbers, again July current July numbers are much lower than what they have been in the last two financial years. So that's the second point to keep in mind. Again, this trend has continued even in FY23. So if you look at the data sets from April to August, in fact, the numbers are majorly down. And even if you do it month on month, if you look at August, around 1.93 crore individuals under Manrega demanded work against a much larger number of 4.4 crore in the month of May. This is the current financial year's data. Similarly, if you look at the households which have been asking for work, even that is substantially down. It's down by almost 40% year on year. So these are numbers which clearly reflect that probably the job market is stabilizing. This is what government observations are. We don't really have granular data in terms of other unemployment or employment numbers, but this is what the government's take is as of now. Although if you look at the FY18 numbers, probably you will see that this Manrega demand is still higher. It's still higher than the pre-COVID years, but as of now, it's on a substantial decline, and this trend has been there since the last financial year.
All right, Sapna Das, thank you so much for getting all those important data. Now, as we slip into a short breather on Business Lunch, a quick reminder for our viewers. It's that time of the year again. Money Control Pro's Financial Freedom offer is back with added benefits. Get a Money Control Pro subscription at net zero cost by claiming exciting offers worth rupees 1,500 from our partner brands. Grab the benefits now only on the Money Control app or website.
आत्मनिर्भर होते भारत का अद्वितीय प्रतिबिंब है विक्रांत। आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव का अतुलनीय अमृत है विक्रांत। आईएनएस विक्रांत पर हो रहा ये आयोजन विश्व क्षितिज पर भारत के बुलंद होते हौसलों की हुंकार है।
That was such a proud moment for every Indian. That was our Prime Minister inaugurating India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant. We now have with us CNN News 18's Arunima joining in from INS Vikrant to tell us more about the ship and its capabilities.
It's victorious, it's valiant, it's Vikrant. India has got its second aircraft carrier and Vikrant has edged its place in history once again. The original Vikrant had played a stellar role in the India-Pakistan War of 1971. It had helped liberate Bangladesh, and that is the legacy that the new Vikrant has to live up to. But at birth itself, the new INS Vikrant has created history because it's a symbol of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The ship behind me has been created from scratch at the Kochi shipyard, from where we are reporting at the moment. Right from the steel to the fittings, to the hull, to the electrics, to the mechanics, everything is Swadesi in nature. And that is what the Prime Minister emphasized when he dedicated INS Vikrant to the country when it was commissioned. What the Prime Minister said is that the need of the hour is not just to showcase India's might as far as its military prowess is concerned, but also ensure that balance of power. At a time when China is flexing its muscles in the Indian Ocean region, we have seen the war of words over Sri Lanka's port where the Chinese ship was docked. We've also seen the ongoing tension at the line of actual control in Ladakh. And in that backdrop, for India to ensure that China gets the message of Vikrant was required. That's what the Prime Minister's message too was, but that's not the only reason why Vikrant has created history. It has compartments for women sailors as well. Women in defense forces have always been a sticky issue. So in that sense also, Vikrant is creating history. It has been commissioned, but will get operational only next year when all the air assets are tested and tried. But already you can see behind me fully loaded MiG-29Ks and helicopters are there to give you a sense of what this mighty aircraft carrier would mean when it sails like a queen with its fleet fully armed into the sea.
Oh, it definitely looks mighty. So nice for us to be able to see those visuals. Arunima, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details on the INS Vikrant from the, from the spot itself. But with that, we're going to move on and bring you another important story. Lakshman Narasimhan, who recently stepped down as the CEO of Reckitt, has been appointed as the new CEO of Starbucks and will join the company from the 1st of October. Mangalam has been looking at this and he's standing by with some very interesting insights into the appointment. Mangalam.
Well, Lakshman Narasimhan is a sought-after man. When he announced his unexpected exit from Reckitt, the stock fell about 5%, and everyone was wondering what's brewing. Well, tell you what's brewing. He is the new Starbucks CEO. He will succeed the interim CEO and founder Howard Schultz from April 1, 2023. He joins Starbucks on October 1, 2022 as incoming CEO. So he takes over as CEO only from April 1st, 2023. Prior to joining Starbucks as CEO, he of course was the CEO of Reckitt Benckiser, where he was appointed on September 1, 2019 itself. So in 3 years, his key achievement was to navigate Reckitt through the pandemic itself. He's also held various leadership roles at PepsiCo. In fact, on a side note, when he was the CEO of PepsiCo Latin America, he actually went ahead and struck a deal with Starbucks itself. So now it's a bit of a full circle. Let's talk about this star's bucks now. His base salary will be $1.3 million, then cash incentive of 200% over this base salary, and joining bonus, he gets about $1.6 million as well. The important things he has to watch out for in Starbucks Global, the challenges and multiple opportunities. The first one is bringing business back post-COVID. Of course, a lot of the to-go sales have met pre-COVID levels, but overall business has been under pressure post-COVID, especially on account of inflation and rising costs. Other couple of factors that he'll be working on: worker unionization effort that has been taking place at their Buffalo, New York, area. So that is something he'll have to navigate through. And on account of that, there was higher employee turnover as well. Navigating competition is something that he'll have to manage to keep Starbucks relevant, and growing presence in other geographies. Will India be included in that or not is something we will have to watch out for. While he was, a part of this list earlier itself, he keeps his place in this illustrious, ever-growing and elite list of global business leaders of Indian origin, joining the likes of Sundar Pichai, Sandeep Kataria, Arvind Krishna and Shantanu Narayan.
All right, Mangalam, thanks so much for all those important details. And yes, so many global Indian leaders, but I'm more kicked about the fact that probably we'll get filter coffee at Starbucks very soon. Yeah, which I didn't know till this announcement came. And it will probably become truly global as well. So that's one good thing to probably look out for. On that note, we'll call it quits on Business Lunch. It's curtains down here. And Mid-Cap Radar is coming up next. Don't go anywhere.